All right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos. The Lakers Fast Break, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows, and if you can, please give us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, subscribe, follow, share, whatever you can do to support the Lakers Fast Break, it is truly appreciated. Plus, I highly, highly recommend and please ask you if you could support not only us at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, but also NBA Draft Junkies, also Run the Floor, and also, because there's a lot of alsos, LakerHolics.com. Another nail biter again for the Lakers. But if you're following what we've seen so far in the playoffs, Denver, and if you're a Denver fan, they have the Lakers right where they want them. 3-1 after a 114-108 win over the Denver Nuggets tonight. Basically, it was a nail biter throughout. You got to give credit for Denver for hanging in there all the way. They played a great game, had an outstanding performance from Murray. Jamal Murray just really was the star of the game because he just did an incredible job of putting in shot after shot after shot. I had gone on the program with JB Ellis just before the game, and I said the key would be for the Lakers to try and make Jamal Murray inefficient. Well, that certainly wasn't the case, but they were able to go ahead and get average games from Nikola Jokic and Jeremy Grant as opposed to the really great games that they had in game 3. So I think that was probably the difference right there. Plus, the offensive rebounding and the rebounding as a whole was much better today. In fact, the second chance points, the Lakers dominated, and I think that was the key right there. But here today to talk with me about all the great things that are going on with the Lakers Fast Break are 3 great guys indeed. First up, want to hear from my good friend. You got to check out his great site, NBA Draft Junkies, available now on YouTube or NBADraftJunkies.com. Be part of all these great, awesome, and fantastic videos that he has covering the NBA draft, just rows after rows after rows on YouTube right now, waiting for you after the show, of course. It is Rafael Barlowe. And Rafael, always great to have you on the program. Your first thoughts when it comes to today's game?
Like you said, another nail biter. It was a game that could have went either way, but the Lakers just got big plays, big possessions when they needed them. Offensive rebounds ended up being, in my opinion, the difference maker in the game once the game got tight. Rondo had a big offensive rebound. AD had some tap outs. And then LeBron switching on to Murray. He made 2 big defensive plays that kind of stifled Denver's momentum.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just some clutch plays down the as the game got closer to its finale, and just really it was just some clutch performances right there, and some timely free throws, which, as both you and I know and have seen from LeBron, sometimes does not happen when you need it to happen. But I'm sure glad he made his free throws, and of course Anthony Davis doing a terrific job of just being Anthony Davis all game long. Sensational performance. I'm worried about his ankle because he did roll his ankle during the course of the game and he had to retie his shoe, and the trainer was out and everybody was panicking. So you don't know after icing it and treating it how well it's going to feel tomorrow and going forward, but it's of great concern. But he was in there enough to get the victory tonight. And also here to talk about today's game is a good man indeed. He's one of the blog editors for LakerHolics.com. Be part of the conversation today at LakerHolics.com, where not only Rafael provides videos, I provide podcasts. LakerTom does some great things as well. Jamie Sweet, who hopefully will join us later on in the program. But it is Magic Man, a.k.a. Sean Grice. And Sean, what are your initial thoughts on today's game?
Wow, Gerald, as a first responder, I have to say, I felt like grabbing the nitroglycerin in my pack when Anthony Davis rolled his ankle. I was literally saying, "Oh no," because the grimace on his face, it wasn't necessarily the way he felt, but he was in so much pain.
It seemed like a little bit worse than when LeBron a couple of games ago rolled his ankle, and you heard the loud yelp, but he as Rafael calls him, like just the robot, the android that he is. He just tied his shoes and went on from there.
Yeah. I mean, he's stoic in pain, man. I mean, it's unreal how stoic he is. He's stoic at the free throw line. He's stoic when he's taking a turnaround jumper when he got poked in the eye. He's stoic when he's giving an interview. He's just even keeled dude. I mean, and I love having him as a Laker. And I probably annoyed the hell out of the blog last year when Dell Dems tried to pull a fast one on us. And I was just screaming that we should just continue to try and acquire him, because no matter what you give up, we are one game away from an NBA Finals.
And that's what it's all about. And that's what it's all about indeed. But also here today to talk to us about today's game. And he's got a lot to say. And if you don't think he has a lot to say on today's show, my goodness, wait for the 15,533 articles that he has lined up in the chamber, as Rafael would say, waiting to come at you in the not too distant future. Is a good man indeed. You got to go ahead and check out what he's doing at LakerHolics.com, plus his articles on Medium. It is LakerTom. And LakerTom, the floor is yours. I'm glad you still have a heart that's beating, my friend, because I know that's always an issue with games like these.
Well, I frankly prefer blowouts when the Lakers play, but it's a lot easier to stress, and there's a lot less yelling around the house. Yesterday afternoon, my neighbor came over and nicely asked me if I could maybe tone down the screaming during the games. with the windows open and it being hot out and everything, and so I tried really hard. And there were a few yelps that got out there, but wow, what a great game! I'm really impressed with the fact that Frank Vogel finally started Dwight Howard.
I told one of my daughters, my older daughter, that I said, if there's a 77-year-old man doing cartwheels right now, it's LakerTom.
I was picturing.
Well, it's always that trade-off when I posted this in the site too. But yeah, there's a danger that Dwight could foul out or get in foul trouble and not be available in the fourth quarter. Ironically, he didn't play very much in the fourth quarter. But the other side of that coin is that he could get Nikola Jokic in foul trouble, and that's a lot what happened. They just couldn't keep him off of the boards. Those 5 offensive rebounds in the first half kept the Lakers in that game, and really that combination of that and 80's 7-for-7 start really set the tone. And then give credit to Jamal Murray, who continues to impress. A hard cover, man. I mean, he's got so many quirky little moves and so forth, and he's learned to be a much better passer. He kept them in the game all the way down until the end, until LeBron basically bothered him on a couple of last-minute shots in order to create baskets where we would stops that we could go and turn around and then extend out that lead. This was a game that, man, if you love basketball and you love guys stepping up, the role players on both teams did a fabulous job. I mean, I couldn't count the number of times that KCP hit clutch baskets or Dwight got a clutch basket. Kuzma made a couple of clutch baskets. On the other side, Grant and Morris were terrific, and even Porter Jr. He ended the half with a couple of threes to keep them in the game. As impressive as it was for the Nuggets to come from behind and to continue to stay within that 5 to 10 point range almost the entire night, it was also impressive for the Lakers to not give up that lead and to basically hold on to it and find a way to stretch it out. They made the free throws. I watched the game at halftime. At halftime, 2-point shots and 3-point shots were even. In the third quarter, 2-point shots and 3-point shots were even. At the end of the second, third quarters, it was free throws that were the difference in the game. And in the end, it really came down to the free throws again. We won the free throw line by 8. We lost the 2-point shots by 2. This game was won maybe by Frank Vogel complaining that LeBron wasn't getting fouled and creating that dynamic in the referees that, hey, there is a little bit of home court advantage. That's one of the home court advantages that you lose, without having a home crowd screaming at the refs and so forth. And I kind of felt like there was a trade there. They never liked to reverse that last foul that they called on LeBron that Frank challenged. I didn't think was a foul because it was obviously Murray lunging his arm into LeBron's chest. But on the other side, I thought LeBron did foul him on one of those last two layups, which they didn't call, and I thought that was kind of a makeup call there. But a great game by the Lakers. A lot of credit and respect has to go out to the Nuggets. Like I said in the article that I wrote for Lakerholics.com, this was another game where the Nuggets had their back to the wall because they ain't going to come back 3 straight, and they ain't going to have 3 straight 1-3 comebacks. Not against the Lakers.
Well, Rafael, I want to ask you this. I think the second chance points was 24-5, if I'm not mistaken.
25-6.
25-6. Okay, 25-6. Thank you, LakerTom. I think that's the key. I think it was desire. I think it was energy. And I think this was something that we needed to see from the Lakers in the previous game that we didn't. And to me, I saw a much more livelier bunch. I saw a team that had a sense of urgency. And I saw a team that was very respectful and understood the gravity now of the situation that they didn't in the previous game.
Yeah, I mean, that Rondo offensive rebound at the end may have been the biggest play of the game in a sense. And then the little, I don't know if he got a steal or if they missed shot, but the possession where he got the ball, he let everybody pass him up, and then he nailed the jump shot at the elbow. Those are big plays. But again, I think the offensive rebound, like I said earlier, Rondo's offensive rebound, even though I don't think he got fouled, I think they anticipated a foul on that. And then I think Davis had a tap out and Morrison up. And so those were 2 big plays. I mean, it's backbreaking if you're the defense and you get a stop, especially against a team like the Lakers, and you get a stop and then you don't get the offensive rebound. And then for it to happen twice was just too much for Denver to overcome.
Absolutely. Now, I'm back in the train station. I've still got my ticket. I'm not quite there. I'm not quite there yet. I mean, 11 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds. Those numbers are good, but you're not like eye-popping, playoff Rondo like he's going to be trending on Twitter here in a minute. But I wanted to ask you this, Sean. With Rondo playing effectively, I just asked over the past couple of weeks when we've been teasing about that, going back and forth, whether or not I'm going to jump on the playoff Rondo train. I just wanted good enough Rondo. And tonight, that's exactly what I got.
Yeah, he was good enough, Gerald. I mean, with Denver, yes, they're missing Will Barton, it's true, but it's an embarrassment of riches they have at the guard position. You have Torrey Craig, who's a really great defender, and Monte Morris was really great tonight. He was clutch. He wasn't afraid to go into the lane amongst the trees and make some shots. And I think you need a Rondo and you need a Caruso or a combination of the two to be able to counter whoever is playing beside Jamal Murray.
Absolutely. I was telling Tom to shh because you're talking, man. You're talking. But even PJ Dozier, who played a significant role in the last game, got 0 minutes. He barely even got on the floor today.
2 games ago. I don't think he played last game either.
No, he did.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. 2 games. Yeah, it was the right. You're right. It was the miraculous shot by Davis game that he was in there. So he didn't even get a chance to play. So you're right. It is a wealth of riches, and we're not even counting Will Barton, who plays like that guard/forward spot, who isn't even in the game because he's hurt. And Rafael, you mentioned that could be a key why Denver could be the difference why Denver is not leading at this point in time.
You're forgetting about Avery Bradley.
And Will Barton could be the difference as far as it's concerned. Just kidding. Avery
I mean, both
well.
teams are missing
Yeah.
a key rotation.
Fair, Gerald.
Yeah, so I mean that's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you know what Denver's going to do. You know, late in games, fourth quarter, they're going to run a dribble handoff or a pick and roll between Murray and Jokic. And, you know, they were able to make another comeback, but I think what's the close they got it to? 4? Was it
No,
4
they got
or
to
5?
1. They got to down to 1
In the fourth quarter?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was down to
Okay.
1, and the Lakers went on a 6-0 run.
Oh yeah, I think didn't Rondo have like a steal or a steal or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, back to playoff Rondo, I don't think you can necessarily judge it by the statistics. Like he just makes timely plays, and
That's what I'm saying. Good enough. Not eye popping. You know, this is not what he hasn't done in
but
10 years, Rondo. This is just, it's good enough, Rondo. Smart play at the right time.
It's special play that nobody else on the team could have made in a lot of those situations.
Well,
That's really what Rafael is saying, that you can look at it as simple plays and you can look at it as maybe not huge stats,
or being at the right place at the right time.
If you look at it in the complex context of the entire game, he was at the critical points in these games. You know, the Lakers wouldn't be up 3-1 if it wasn't for Rajon Rondo.
Well, that's that championship savvy that he has. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
Rondo.
knowing where to be.
Well, I think of it this way. Imagine if you were rooting against the Lakers. You would hate Rondo.
Of course.
Because he's a guy that you think like, oh, let him shoot. And he keeps making clutch jumpers. He made a clutch three-pointer in one of the games.
Made a clutch 3 today.
A lot of people were hating Rondo, and they were Lakers fans during the course of the season. So not to
yeah, and he just keeps coming up with these timely plays that you're like, where did he come from? Like that offensive rebound, he wanted that rebound more than anybody on the floor, and I think
he was really up in the air on that.
Yeah, he was up in the air, and I think the lack of respect he gets as a shooter has always kind of helped him in a sense in his career, because in Boston he was a great cutter because you would, you're paying attention to Ray or Paul or KG and you're not guarding Rondo, and he would make timely cuts. And then even in this series, or even just in this playoffs, he's been getting a lot of wide open shots. But even if the defense isn't guarding him, it's allowing him to come in and crash and get these rebounds and these extra chance points. And so you just can't judge him statistically. I mean, he's made an impact. If I had to choose who is the Lakers' third best player overall in the playoffs, I'd have to say it's Rondo.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm going to agree with you on that. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I'd agree. And what I really admired was when Plumlee was at the free throw line, he was toe tapping, trying to distract him, and he got called for a lane violation, but he tried to do it again. And he did it in a different sequence. And he obviously saw something on film to try something like that. The guy is so damn observant on the court. He's so damn observant in the film room. He really doesn't miss anything. And I know the speed is gone a little bit, and like Rafael was saying, there's, he's had an attitude issue with coaches in the past, but the mind is still there. It's sharp as ever.
Absolutely. And that's one of the keys to victory right there. But LakerTom, I mean, if you're the Lakers, you got to be thinking to yourself, okay, we're up 3-1, everything's groovy, but we've seen this scenario before already twice in the playoffs. In fact, you saw this scenario last game with the Lakers being very complacent in the way they played. I want to hear your thoughts. You're shaking your head no already and that it's done and deal, but okay, you're the man who actually had the broom in his closet ready to take on out. So before you go ahead,
my prediction was always Lakers in 5.
Your prediction was Lakers in 5, indeed. But what do the Lakers need to do on the next game in order to go ahead and fight off any complacency? And basically, because now it's a do or die for Denver, and they're going to be fighting and scratching. And we've seen from them already twice before that they're going to be fighting for all they're worth.
I kind of disagree with the whole idea that by coming out a little bit overconfident in game 3 that we instilled some sort of confidence in the Nuggets. I think that's actually an affront to the Nuggets. I don't think I think that they've played the Lakers pretty well in games 2 and 3. Could have won both games, could have lost both games.
But the Lakers came out complacent in game 3. The carelessness, I'm telling you, man,
it's
I
human
saw
nature.
it.
It's human nature, Gerald. And it just caught them. They came out flat, and sometimes people come out flat. Sometimes they come out energy. The big difference is game 5 is an elimination game. And LeBron James is going to come out, and Anthony Davis is going to come out, and Frank Vogel's going to make sure the team is ready to play an elimination game. And as great as the Nuggets have been in winning 6 straight elimination games, I don't think that they have a chance in the world of beating the Lakers 3 straight. And that's going to take a little bit of heart out of them, because you just can't keep hoping for miracles. There's a law of averages. There's karma that comes around, and it's not going to happen. And the Lakers know also too that they've got probably a pretty tough team in Miami that they're going to have to play in the finals. And the last thing they want to do is have a dragged out series where Miami cruises in and rests everybody. And
So you've already got Lakers in Miami.
Yeah.
yes, I already have Lakers in Miami. I
You've
don't
got
think-
those articles in the chamber
I
already.
don't think the Celtics are going to come back. I deleted the Celtics article. I actually did. I only had about 5 paragraphs, but I deleted the article because I don't think they have a chance. And I don't think the Nuggets have a chance.
Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, this is now the Western Conference Finals. So hats off to Denver. They came
5
back.
games to go.
They came back from 3-1 in the first round. They came back from 3-1 in the semis. They played a Clippers team that didn't deserve to advance, and now you're down 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals. So now it's balls to the wall, Denver, and to all you fans out there, now it's balls to the wall. What do you got? Because now it's a best of 3, and you got to sweep us. And like Tom said, in an elimination game, I have to research LeBron's record, but I don't recall him ever losing a playoff series when his team was up 2-0. And
He has 17-0 is his record when a team is up 2-0.
Yeah, so
17-0.
How about 3-1?
It's difficult to beat this.
Wouldn't
man.
matter. He's undefeated in 3-1 if he was undefeated at 2-0.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he also understands the urgency of the moment too, because he was down 3-1 once.
Right.
A huge moment. So I don't think he's going to. Like I said earlier, I just believe that the Lakers' leadership is showing through here and now, rather than what the Clippers had, because LeBron and Rondo do understand the urgency here. Remember, Rondo was on a team that was up, I believe, 3-2 against the Lakers twice, and he won once and he lost once. So he understands the urgency of an elimination game as well.
Well, absolutely.
The other side of the elimination is the pressure on the Lakers, because if you have a 3-1 lead, and then all of a sudden, you look at the games. A 2-0 game is a big game because just of the simple fact that LeBron's won 17 straight when he leads 2-0. You get up 3-1, all of a sudden, that's a whole different thing. You allow a team to come back 3-2, and you're in a track meet then, because all they have to do is to come back and win that, and by a fluke or whatever, win that sixth game to make it 3-3, and then it's anybody's game. So it's the stakes go up for the team that's ahead every time. And the Lakers came through today, make it 3-1. They're not going to slack off. They're not going to come out overconfident.
Well, I want to ask you this, since you guys are already writing your epitaphs on the Denver Nuggets. Rafael, you're a little bit more level-headed about these things. That's why I go to you for infinite wisdom on this. I want to hear your thoughts, being because you always provide an objective view. I mean that Laker Tom, myself, or Magic Man can't always give because we're ardent Lakers fans. So I want to ask you this: what's your thoughts on the series now? Is it over? I know in the past it's over hasn't always been over, but I want to hear your thoughts on this series and where it stands.
I had to laugh because you said I give an objective view, and I'm the same guy that said it was over. And I wasn't even interested in watching Game 5 in the last in the Nuggets Clippers series. So
I remember.
yeah. So no, I definitely think Denver's going to put up a fight. But if I were a betting man and I had to bet, I mean, I'm not going to bet against the Lakers. Giving up a 3-1 lead.
No, I'm not going to bet it on it either. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Lakers are going to win. But Laker Tom already has them winning in 5. Magic Man has them already winning in 5. I
said 6.
Oh, you said 6. Okay, I think I said 6. I'm pretty sure I said 6. So I just want to make sure that they go ahead and just stay focused. If they go out and they play hard and they play with energy and they still lose, hey, they lost. It's okay. They're still up. But that's all you want from this point forward. If they play with energy and they play with attitude, and they play like they mean it, not like they did in Game 3, I think they will go ahead and you're like you said, Tom, they will not beat the Lakers 3 times in a row. The Lakers just have to play with energy, and I think that's all they need.
Yeah, and I think the key is finding out if Davis's ankle injury is going to limit him, because I felt like the first couple
the unspoken might be spoken.
Yeah, and if it limits him, I still think he'll play. And the way he's shooting the ball, he's still a threat as a shooter. But
you could see how much he was affected by it in that last 2-3 minute stretch.
Yeah.
I could see it clearly on how the lack of mobility I saw from it. I'm sure you saw the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been joking all year. Pelicans AD misses a week. With the Lakers, no, you're playing. We got something bigger in mind here. You're playing. So he hasn't missed time with these little knick-knack bumps and bruises that he's been known for missing.
Well, the bruised gluteus maximus deal, he was out for like a week and a half.
That was a pretty big fall, man.
It was a big fall.
Anybody who took that fall would be out for a game.
He would have missed a month in New Orleans.
There you go.
Yeah, no, and it was also a hell of a shot he took from Morris in the chest tonight. I mean,
yes.
But that
wouldn't have affected LeBron.
Yeah, but that was another.
That would have bounced off LeBron.
Right.
Hey, you know what? That was another adjustment I like by Vogel. He tried to match the physicality that Millsap and the front court of the Nuggets employed last game.
Without fouling. That's a big factor in this game. They did a much better job.
It was. I know Denver responded over and over again, but the physicality remained. AD was a force tonight. He really was, and he made. He had 0 rebounds at one point. I think we were somewhere.
Yeah. First half, he was 0 in the first half. First time in his career, 2 first halves in a row.
Right, but he kept Joker off the line too.
He only had 5 rebounds for the game, and normally you're panic if that's the situation. But sometimes I think Brook Lopez is probably the best example of this. How terrible! Oh, he's a terrible rebounder. But the idea is, he boxes out and he gets the other man out of the play so effectively that his other teammates rebound the ball. So while it doesn't impact his rebound numbers, the key is that the team does. And I saw that tonight where, like you said, he was bodying up. He was making sure Jokic wasn't destroying them on the offensive glass. I think that was a key. Again, was winning the boards, to me, was just such a key, and limiting the turnovers. Laker Tom, I want to ask, I know you, like Rafael said, you were doing backflips, and I said, you were doing cartwheels with Dwight Howard getting into the lineup starting to start. Do you see this going forward for the rest of the series?
I don't see why not.
I said you would have won a softball. That was my softball question.
No, listen,
done.
when we talk about the physicality, Dwight's main purpose in the lineup is basically to let teams know that we're going to play physical. And five rebounds, he's often I get frustrated at Dwight because he'll get the rebound, but he won't finish the points to go with the rebound. Tonight, he was just great at that. I mean, every time he got a rebound, he went straight up and put it down again. I don't think he got any flushes on any dunks from lobs or anything the entire game. But boy, he was just fighting. He had great position for the boards. And I think he ended up with one foul.
Well, as far as tonight,
Yeah.
fouls, he had 2 fouls.
Two
which is
fouls?
incredible. Usually he gets 2 fouls. Usually he gets 2 offensive fouls per game.
It's an interesting thing. Frank really trusts that closing lineup. And I was surprised that he didn't go to Dwight there. And I think part of it was the free throw shooting of, in a close game that you just don't want to have Dwight out there where he can be easily fouled as soon as he touches the ball. But they have to continue that route. JaVale came in. I don't think he scored.
No. 0 points, 1 rebound.
I don't know what it is with JaVale. He's like flailing right now to really, have an impact. He's flailing when he tries to jump for the rebounds. He's flailing, when the ball gets thrown to him. I think, and Morris did not play well today. Morris almost made several gaffes right at the end of the game. So I think Dwight's earned the start at least for the last game of this series, which is going to be Friday or Saturday, excuse me. And then I think if he does well and he can contain him, I mean, Vogel actually put an article out to the reporters that Dwight would play more if he didn't foul as much, and Dwight got the end. Dwight got the word. He did not do any dumb fouls today. No dumb screens where he was moving screen.
Because like I said, you could bet on usually every single game.
Yep.
2 offensive fouls.
You would have made money, except tonight. You would have lost money.
Well, I'm glad to lose that kind of money if that's the case. Sean, I know you've been on several shows with us, but a word of advice, do not try to talk over LakerTom. I've learned, I've tried, I've failed many times over. But go ahead, my friend.
No, I was going to say, yeah, I mostly agree with that synopsis on JaVale so far, but he was responsible for one of Jokic's offensive fouls.
Yeah.
He was really battling under the boards with him. At least he was trying to body up him.
Jokic?
Yeah, and I thought one of the key sequences in the game, again, Denver responded, but Jokic had 3 fouls, and then he picked up like a ticky-tack one against AD on a jumper, and then he picked up his 5th foul. I think
he's got to make better choices.
Yeah, over a minute later. And again, Denver kept responding, no doubt, but that was a great tactical move by Vogel and Kidd and the staff to let AD know, attack him, go after him.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. Rafael, I do want to ask, though, we talked about McGee, which is the thorn in LakerTom's side. I want to ask you this, though, with Markieff Morris. Today was actually a cold day for Morris, but he provides some physicality, but he gets targeted a lot on the defensive end, as you and I both saw. I mean, your thoughts on consistently playing him 15 to 20 minutes, even if he's not shooting the ball well from 3?
Who, Morris?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, it's the playoffs. You're going to target somebody. And as long as you have LeBron on the floor and AD, teams are going to go after somebody else. They're going to run away from those guys. But he's not a bad defender. I mean, think about some teams wish they had, a Morris twin to be the one guy that you target. So I don't think he's hurting the team at all in any way. But I mean, it's like, who do you bring in? I mean,
sometimes Rondo is that player because he's not, especially if Murray's on Rondo, you can see Murray salivating when Rondo's playing because Rondo, it's either feast or famine. Rondo's going to get the steal or Rondo's going to get blown by. It's usually either which case. But you're right. When it comes to Morris, I mean, he's been playing effective enough, but there's those times that they're really targeting him on defense. I want to ask you this with Michael Porter Jr. going in for the rest of the series, even if it does go out to a 6 or 7 game type of scenario. How much do you continue to play MPJ? LakerTom talked about his great shooting, but you also talked about how he's becoming a big target on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean he provides more offense than Millsap, but if he's in the game, you're gonna go after him, and it's tough if you're Denver if you have him and Jokic on the floor together, because Jokic is gonna just play drop defense, and then which will give up pull up jumpers, but then Murray just not Murray, but Porter Jr. just he doesn't have the experience, the toughness. He just is a target, and if he was just an average defender, he could probably play 35, 36 minutes a game. But I wanted to add something real fast. I just saw on Twitter that AD did his press conference and he didn't have his ankle wrapped up. Yes. So that's always a good sign.
Yes, that's always a good sign. I know we were talking about it yesterday with Bam Adebayo.
No news is good news usually.
Yes, and he wasn't listed on the injury report, I don't think, for tomorrow's game, at least as of now. Mm-hmm. So that's a good sign for Miami fans because LakerTom already has them in the NBA Finals as well. Go ahead, Magic Man.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add something to what Rafael said, and maybe you guys would agree, maybe not. But it seems like if you surround Porter with at least 3 good to great defenders on the court, I don't think his liabilities would show as much.
Well, it's the same concept you have with Ben Simmons. If you put 4 great shooters around him, he doesn't stick out like a sore thumb as much because he's able to go ahead and be more effective. It's just a situation with somebody that sticks out on offense. If you have 4 great offensive players and then you have someone like, for instance, Andre Roberson of Oklahoma City, who always stuck out, just put him to the side and there you go. Hope, maybe once in a while he'll make a 3 for you. I mean, if you have a great offensive game, you're able to go ahead and work over those blemishes. But the problem is with the way the Nuggets rotation is, I said the Nuts rotation. The Nuggets rotation is, I'm thinking nuts already because I'm hungry. But Nuggets rotation is, it's hard for them to go ahead and camouflage Michael Porter Jr. on that defense end with so many great defenders because the Nuggets don't have as many great defenders, especially with Will Barton out of the lineup.
Well, I don't think it's they don't have enough defenders. I just think Jokic is their star player, and you have to have him on the court. So you can't play them both together. And remember,
he can't commit to the defense as much as like you would like him to see because he, like you said, he's our star player.
And also, I mean, Utah got up 3-1 because they were trying to play them a lot of minutes together. And then once Malone started to cut Porter's minutes, Utah got back in that series because Donovan Mitchell was just eating him alive on the ball screens. I think I forgot. I mean, it seems like it was so long ago, but there was like some stat where they were shooting like 68% on plays where Porter Jr. was the primary defender. So once he made that change, they got back in the series. And I mean, I just think like they need his offense, even though like today he made some big shots, but I felt like they were tough shots that you live with as a Lakers fan.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I mean, there were several times where Denver made some really tough shots. You just got to go say, you know what, we'll get you the next time around because those were some great shots indeed. They made life very difficult for Denver on the defensive end. So I think the defensive scheme and the way they did it was really just something that I think was the key. But LakerTom, before we go ahead and head on out and catch up on what you, Rafael, and Magic Man are doing on our various outlets, I want to go ahead and catch up with you as far as your final thoughts on how the Lakers laid this out defensively.
Well, I think it was kind of interesting in the first half when they were mixing in the zone. Obviously, Denver seemed prepared for the zone. I think that one of the big adjustments that Frank made, and it was one of the things that several people had pointed out as well as me, that they didn't play that micro lineup with Morris at the 5 at all. That lineup had been killing them. They had tried it as an antidote when Plumlee was on the floor instead of Joker. And basically, anytime that Morris was in the game, he was in the game either with Howard or with AD playing the 5.
I just want to say real quick, interesting how it's effective. Like one series, the micro ball works.
Mm-hmm.
One series.
Well, no, the micro ball that worked in the Rocket series was with AD at the 5.
Yeah, but it also had Markieff Morris
at the
there.
5. The problem
But
is
even then, is that really micro ball? The Lakers micro ball lineup is still bigger than.
Well, the micro ball lineup basically was with Morris at the 5 and LeBron at the 4. That's a pretty small lineup.
But no, they had AD and Morris
in that sense, but you still don't have anybody who can, let's say, stop a Plumlee underneath or a Joker underneath.
Plumlee's driving the pass. He doesn't even look to shoot.
What Morris at the 4, but the Morris at the 4 does, even though he had some obviously difficult moments late in the game, is it stretches the defense out. And it does give you, instead of Joker hunting out of guard, he has to hunt out a 6'8", 245-pound power forward in Morris. So you've got a third big defender in there besides LeBron and AD or LeBron and Howard. And I think that's a big factor in how they played the defense, because especially, even though he's a little bit older and a little bit over the peak of his career, the Nuggets come out with 2 pretty good guys when you've got Millsap and Joker on the floor. Those are 2 guys that can hold their own with almost anybody in the league as far as body strength, and they can both take and post you up. So it becomes a real difficult thing. Then you put in a Porter or a Grant who are both excellent players in that size. You've got a different size situation. So the microball stuff didn't really work at all. I still think that Morris at the 4 and AD at the 5, which was a good deal of how we finished this game, is a good combination for the Lakers. I just think that Markieff got himself in a couple of tough situations where he picked up a couple of fouls and made a key turnover right there in the end that could have cost us. Fortunately, it didn't. But, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with Frank's decisions, even though I know that he's going to always make the decision weighted toward defense. He started Howard, and it was a great move.
Absolutely, he was. And A04 QE, thank you so much for telling us out there. Thank you so much for the comments. Great points was what he was trying to convey. So great job by LakerTom, Rafael, and Magic Man on their thoughts on today's game. But before we head on out, my friends, you got to go ahead and catch up with our audience out there exactly what's going down with what you're working on. So Magic Man, I'll start with you first as a blog editor for the Lakerholics.com site. What you taking care of for the great site known as Lakerholics.com?
Well, unfortunately, I have to watch a lot of Celtics and Heat film right now. So, taking a look at that and looking at Game 5, I'm picking a Boston win. As much as I hate to do this, I had to do it last series too with the Raps. I just think there's too much fight in them to go down 4-1. I think they at least take it to 6, possibly still 7. But if I could add a footnote to what Tom was talking about the zone, did anybody check out NBA TV last night after the Heat won and check out Kevin McHale? He was basically saying that during the season the Heat didn't play a lot of zone. And I just about jumped out of my seat and lost myself, because with Myers Leonard in there, they had to play a lot of zone. In the bubble, they didn't play a lot. And they employed it against Boston because they saw Nick Nurse do it to Boston in the semis. And, that's a little trick Spo picked up. So some of these analysts I find, are really interesting.
Well, the other thing I heard from 2 different analysts was not only did the Heat play a lot of zone as part of their normal everyday game play, and I didn't really watch a lot of Heat games, but he also said the one thing that they did that nobody else in the league did was they practiced it. They actually practice it as part of their regular stratagem that they're going to use in a game all the time. And most teams only practice it when they're going to pull it as a gimmick, or they give it gimmick practice time. But they gave it real practice time, which is why it was so effective.
Well, the
Most
stats are out
teams
there.
don't practice. A lot of teams really don't practice a lot.
But practicing a zone, learning how to make a zone work,
Takes time.
It takes time. It's a whole different thing than man to man. It's not something you can put together. You can put it together, but to really make it work as well as Miami's worked, that really takes not just doing it for 2 or 3 games or 2 or 3 days before the game in order to pull it. It's something that they worked out all year. It's part of their defensive structure.
Rick Carlisle took hours of film to employ his zone against the Heat in 2011. He didn't have the athletes that other teams had, so he had to use something else.
Well, I'm sure right now
a gimmick zone. I think it was like
it was
zone, free throw line and above, man when the ball is free throw line extended or below. You definitely have to practice that.
Well, no kidding. I mean, how do you even know what the rotations are? It's crazy.
Well, I'm sure Synergy and Basketball Reference will send some kind words over to Kevin McHale and tell him exactly how much they played zone before the bubble and in the bubble. So we'll go from there. But before we head on out, Magic Man, what are you up to at Lakerholics.com?
Yep, still working on that BAM article. Work's been keeping me away from it, but I'm about to publish it soon, Gerald. So it's like I said, I called it first though. Tom's with me. I think it's going to be a Lakers Heat final, and I think the key matchup in a finals like that would be Bam versus AD.
Yeah.
That is a special matchup right there.
I worry about Goran because we don't have anybody in a backcourt that has his experience and ability to score.
Yeah,
I worry about him more than I do Jimmy because I think LeBron can guard Jimmy.
Well, we'll talk about that if it gets to that point.
But who's going to guard Goran,
Well, we'll talk about that again if it gets to that point, which is looking more and more like it because both teams have a 3-1 lead. LakerTom, as Rafael would once again say, what's in the chamber for you heading your way to Medium at Lakerholics.com? I already
have the headline and the excerpt written for the article, and it's let's just say that has to do with elimination games.
I thought you were going to say you're going to trade somebody.
The Lakers in 5 and elimination games.
Well, there you go. There you go, indeed. Check that out at Lakerholics.com. Be part of the experience today at Lakerholics.com, where you'll catch our great articles from Sean, great articles from Tom, Jamie Sweet with his 5 great things, and so much more at Lakerholics.com. But before we head on out, Rafael Barlowe, you do a tremendous amount of work at NBA Draft Junkies. I know you got a lot of stuff going up there each and every day or each and every week too as well. I want to hear your thoughts. I know you dropped a video today, so I want to hear your thoughts on what you're headed and what you're doing at NBA Draft Junkies.
Yeah, just trying to put out as much content as possible. I think I've put out 15 videos in September. 15 videos in 24 days, either 15 or 16. So I just want to keep that momentum going for the next, 50 days or so. And so, but that's it. Actually, today I don't have anything in the chamber. Usually I have something that I know I can release for the next day. I guess I do, but I'm just trying to decide if I'm going to put it out. So, but yeah, I've been crazy busy the last few days.
I don't blame you. And there's a lot of things that you're doing. And please check out his great podcast, NBA Draft Junkies and the Run the Floor podcast. And of course, everything that he's doing today at NBADraftJunkies.com and be part of the 12,000 plus subscribers at NBA Draft Junkies. For myself, PCC Multiverse on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel coming up tomorrow. Marcus de la Garza and I broke down Xbox's latest purchase of Bethesda and seeing where that's going to head up with the next console generation, plus all the movies that got moved by Disney this week because they're delaying and changing everything around again in the movie world. So check out that coming up. I also have interviews scheduled tomorrow that's going to be on the Lakerholics.com site. Plus, Also, everywhere you get your podcast, coming up in the not too distant future with the author of the number one book, basketball biographies. The number one basketball biography now on Amazon, Three Ring Circus, about Kobe, Shaq, Phil, and the crazy years of the Lakers dynasty. I will have on Jeff Pearlman tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and have a special interview, so search out for that either live on the Lakers Fast Break Facebook page, Lakerholics.com, or tomorrow afternoon, like I said, coming up there, or coming up in the not too distant future on the Lakers Fast Break podcast channel. I also have coming up next week the makers, the directors of Console Wars, which is the big hit right now, the tremendous critical hit on CBS All Access as far as that documentary is concerned. So I will be having the directors, Blake J. Harris and Jonah Tulis. They'll be coming and joining me next week on the Pop Culture Cosmos. So check it out. Inside Sports Fantasy Football. We broke down NFL Week 3, so much more. All the great stuff going on. Lakerholics.com, NBA Draft Junkies, and also Lakers Fast Break. If you have any questions or comments or think LakerTom is just playing crazy when he does his trades, at LakerTom on Twitter, at Barlow500 for Rafael, at NBA Draft Junkies for Rafael. Sean, you got a Twitter handle? I've never asked.
Not yet, Gerald. Not yet.
Okay, avoid Twitter at all costs, my friend. It's a dangerous place. We're at Lakers Fast Break on Twitter. And if you have any questions, LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. Well, we truly appreciate everyone listening, everyone watching. Thank you so much, A04QE, for the great question out there and the great comment. I'm sorry that you had the great comment that you provided on today's show. Thank you so much for watching. Rafael and I will be back tomorrow right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.